Welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who learned his pitch-perfect Scottish accent by watching So I Married an Axe Murderer starring Mike Myers. It's John Levingood.
So the other day I was doing a Scottish accent. I was in New Jersey with my friends, and I kept doing Gerard Butler as best I could. And for some reason, they accused me of sounding like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then it made me think of me teasing you when you do your Michael Caine.
No one wants to hear that.
But so I just showed my girlfriend the trailer for Geostorm because she wasn't familiar with the fact that Geostorm existed. And so I was showing her, I was just like, oh yeah, sorry I'm late. I literally had to fly down from outer space, and I was just like stumbling through with the worst Scottish accent ever. And then every now and then I just yell while we were watching the trailer, Gerard Butler. And I don't presume to have a good Scottish accent, but my other friends were around me and they're like, you sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger saying Gerard Butler. I don't think that's accurate. I just think that I did a crappy Gerard Butler.
It started off very Schwarzenegger. And then
Did it really?
Yeah, but then it moved into more Scottish. Like you actually, for me, I'll start with maybe my first syllable will sound correct, and then it's all downhill. You started rough, and it went better. I actually got pretty impressed there.
But I love So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Yeah, cry yourself to sleep on your giant pillow. Sputnik. It looks like Sputnik. That's how I first learned about Sputnik, was watching So I Married an Axe Murderer. Satuy. Night.
Look at that. It's got its own weather system.
I used to say that to people all night. Yeah, go and cry yourself to sleep on your giant pillow. And people would have no idea what I'm talking about. I love that. I haven't watched that movie in a while, but I watched that and Army of Darkness one night as a doubleheader, and I'd never seen either of those films before. And I was probably 13 years old, and it was one of my favorite movie watching nights ever. And I got a great Scottish accent.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, and it's fun. Michael Myers, does he do like a Scottish accent in 50% of his stuff? Like when you count all those Shrek movies, and then when he plays in Fat Bastard,
donkey, cheeky
donkey.
As Craig Ferguson, the late night host, would be like, cheeky farty donkey. Oh man, I love Scotland. Isle of Skye is my happy place. Did you know that? The Coen brothers.
Right. You've been to Scotland more than once, haven't you?
Yeah, I love it. The Coen brothers have a house on Isle of Skye, and I love Scotch. Big Scotch fan. Whiskey without the E. Get over yourselves. Hey, so
do they spell it differently in Scotland?
Yeah, it's whiskey without the E.
Is it really?
Yes.
Is that like on the bottles? If I bought, maybe I just never noticed this.
Yeah, whiskey without the E. So if someone goes, "Oh, what kind of whiskey you like? Whiskey or whiskey?" And they're
get over yourself.
yeah, sock him in the head and cry yourself to sleep on that giant bruise.
Oh God, this? We've said one of us has said this like every several months ever since our 2-3 years of podcasting, and that's that one day we need to do specifically a liquor and movies podcast. One day it might actually happen.
I think so. Well, when you visit, we got a Valerian for that. We'll have to plan something for your next visit. I can
get out the Pappy.
It'll be easier to handle all the editing software if you're here.
That's right.
All right, so we got a big two-parter, big honker, Big Daddy long legs, Big Daddy with Adam Sandler, Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, Big Mama's House podcast. It's going to be good, isn't it? 2 parts.
I don't know how we could talk about Fright Night in only one podcast.
We are talking about Fright Night 1985, and we're talking about Fright Night 2011.
Oh, yeah.
This is big. And we're talking about You're So Cool, Brewster, the making of documentary of Fright Night.
We've been threatening to do this for like a year now, it seems.
We had to do it. I think we kept brushing it off because it's a lot of work for us. Like, aside from our normal lives, we had to watch the movies again, take notes, watch the documentaries. I mean, it was a joy, but I think we decided we're going to do this, so we're doing it. However, but before we can do it, I think we have a listener question.
We've got one big listener question from Brett from Clearwater, Florida. And when he asked this question, my response to him on Facebook was, you just asked us to do a whole podcast. Like, so Brett asks us, what are your top 10 vampire films? And where would the 1985 version of Fright Night rank in your list of vampire films?
This was tough. And this could be a podcast episode, but you and I decided that in order to save this for another episode or talk about some of these movies on other episodes, we're going to just kind of blast through 10 through 4, and then we're going to get in depth with our top 3.
I'm not going to lie. I listed like 17 movies, and now this is easily a podcast outline.
my top 10 has 5 movies in it, crossed out, and then another movie. So I like, for me, this list was really easy, 1 through 5. 6 through 10 was very difficult. I think 11 through 15 would be tough.
I got to tell you, I'm really only confident that my top 3 are in order of how much I like them.
Yeah, I could say that.
After that, almost everything can shift plus or minus 1 or 2 positions, just depending on the day, you know?
My top 5 could shuffle.
So
I wouldn't be angry.
I've got a feeling, Mark, that my suspicion is that in our top 3, we will only overlap in 1 movie.
Ooh.
That's my guess.
Now, call me, I'm going out on a limb here, all right? And I'm going to say I'm Dracula as a bat on a tree branch, on a limb. Bird on Wire with Mel Gibson. Man on Wire, great documentary. That we're not going to have any matching in the top 3.
Not one. Okay, all right. Well,
I got a feeling about this. We've known each other for 20 years.
So you think none in the top 3? I think 1 in the top 8. And position is irrelevant. I just think we will overlap 1 in the top 3. This is going to be interesting. Do you want to start with our 10s?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to kick us off with your number 10?
Okay, so I crossed out Dracula 1931, Only Lovers Left Alive, Blade, Fright Night the remake, and Byzantium, which I love, and I wrote in Dracula Dead and Loving It. Now, before you get angry, I love Dracula Dead and Loving It. Do I think it's quality? No. But do I think it's very funny? Do I love Renfield eating bugs and saying the roseberries? Is it a roseberry? I love the dancing scene where Amy Yazbek's flying in the air. I love the blood geysers. I love the play on. I watched the 1931 Dracula in anticipation for this podcast because it's been years. And do you see how faithful his adaptation was of his spoof of this film is? Now, if I said the 10 best, I wouldn't put this. This is I guess I put my favorite top 10. If this wasn't 10 best, it wouldn't be in it, but I love Dracula Dead and Loving It. I think whenever it's on, it makes me happy. So that's my number 10.
Yeah, this comes back to some of the occasional criticism that we see on Facebook posts that you've placed on our Movies, Films, and Flicks Facebook page, where people will say, that is not a better movie than this. And then you're like, well, but this is my top list. This isn't the best vampire films. It's I feel like the top, when you say top, you're making it personal.
Yeah. And right? Very much. And you know what I use it as? The top 10 grossing films of each year are not the best films.
Right.
So that's just the way I look at it.
So my number 10 is Blade.
Ah.
And I'm also going to give my disclaimer in that while Blade clearly is a movie about vampires, I don't view Blade as a vampire film. I view Blade as an action film where you could replace Blade with any fantastical element, and you could replace his opposition vampires with almost any fantastical element. It doesn't rely, in my opinion, too much on the vampirism, even though they play on it every chance they can. This model is your reluctant hero. And I don't know. I love the action movie. I think all the vampire stuff is fun. I love Steve. Oh God, I'm talking about the movie too much. I got to say that for a future podcast.
On this podcast, so if you're reading it, go to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I wrote an article for Rotten Tomatoes where I cover, I had to count every single death and swear word in it. And while doing that, I love Blade. I love it. It's so much fun. Like, why some motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill? Or some motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill. Great lines. I love the yuppie vampires. I love the lounging vampires. I love the choreography. I don't think there's a superhero film with better choreography than Blade.
Honestly, I'd say Blade 2.
Yeah.
But they're different. They're very differently approached, the choreography styles, and I do like them both a lot. But yeah, it's like some people will say it's dumb that Steven Dorff or Sunblock, and I don't disagree. But at the same time, I think it's awesome that Steven Dorff or Sunblock.
Who cares? It's like, you know what I think, John? A lot of people talk smack about Jaws making its journey in Jaws 4. Like, that's impossible. Well, this is a movie about vampires. And so if there's a vampire Sunblock, there's a vampire Sunblock. I get it. That's what's in this world. Like, it makes sense.
Well, as I recall, it didn't last very long. Like, I mean, he had to get out of Dodge when Udo Kier was already dying. Like, cause he knew it was just like a mild protection for him. Like, it just bought him some time.
And these people have been around forever and they're very rich. So who says they don't have some protective cream?
I'm surprised they don't lounge more with all that money.
They would do underworld style lounging. All right, number 9.
Sure. What's your number 9?
I'll keep this one short. I just think it's a brilliant comedy, and that's What We Do in the Shadows.
So I that did not make my top 10, but I love that movie.
Like, I'm mad that I didn't put it in my top 5. But what I guess the one thing I'll say is I like that it's very bloody, and it's kind of mean. There's a scene where he's seducing a woman, and he's putting newspaper down on a sofa, and then he kills her and blood squirts everywhere. So it's a comedy, but there is a lot of blood. There's a lot of vampire-esque isms in it.
I gotta tell you, if I had watched that movie in the last week, that might have been in my top 5. But this week it happens to not be in my top 10. That's this is hard. So for me, Daybreakers.
Ooh, some Ethan Hawke.
Some Ethan Hawke, which is also funny because remember when they killed the one who raged out and turned all vampire bat hybrid? When they killed him, he almost exploded in blood.
Yeah. I like this movie a lot. Low budget, great story. What vampires are, they need blood, correct? Isn't that the thing? There's a blood shortage?
And they were like synthesizing blood.
So you're like Blade, they have blood banks, and on this one they have synthesized blood. I see a pattern with you here.
Well, we'll see if it sticks.
All right. Number 8 for me is Fright Night, the original. We're going to talk about it a lot, so I don't want to go too much in depth. But it's just,
original Fright Night.
I just got to say it's charming as shit.
For me, it is Let the Right One In, 2008.
Classic.
It's I couldn't in one sentence do any justice to that film. So if someone listening really doesn't know that one, and I don't mean Let Me In, which is like the 2010 or 2011 remake. Let the Right One In. Is it Swedish? The Swedish original. It's like you just got to look that thing up. The trailer, you're not going to know what you're getting into. Even it's Kid Vampire. Weird movie.
I think it might be one of the most beautiful vampire movies ever made.
So weird.
And the guy who was a cinematographer for it also did Dunkirk.
Interesting.
Which, I mean, that guy's just blowing up right now. It's Sweden. It's coming up. It's coming up. For me. Number 7. So I was just checking up the cinematographer's name. I'll let you know after the break, but that dude lit it up. Number 7 for me is 30 Days a Night. This movie would be higher, but I do think the middle lags when they're just kind of sitting around. But I think the way they establish the town, then establish the dread, the very mean vampire attack, and then the ending with Josh Hartnett, I really believed him in this movie. I like Melissa George a lot. I liked, the vampires. I mean, I don't know why they were dressed so great, but they were mean. They were very mean. And
it's funny. They had a 28 Days Later ferocity while being quite astute and stylish.
Like they were just mean. And I do think it lags a little bit, but I like Josh Hartnett a lot as an action hero in this film. And I think David Slade directed it, and he really stylized this film. And so that's why it's number 7 for me.
To me, Josh Hartnett in 30 Days of Night is the younger equivalent of Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Last Stand.
Oh, yeah.
He's the guy who just, like, he toughens up when he needs to. He doesn't want to be here, but he will not hesitate.
Yeah, that scene on the playground where that half-vampire guy attacks him. That's an intense scene. And
it's so weird.
I guess you could just look on YouTube, but look at the Eagle's Eye view of the attack. I mean, that's a very, maybe, video games have probably done that before, but that's a very good shot of the carnage. And I like that a lot.
That was definitely a scene that took me off guard. For me, number 7 is 1988's Fright Night 2.
I hear it's good.
Not to be confused with 2013's Fright Night 2.
We're gonna do a pod eventually of Fright Night 2 and Fright Night 2, correct?
Oh yeah, that'll be another joy. Maybe that'll be. Boy, I'd say we should save that for Halloween, but we're gonna have the new Halloween movie coming out this year.
I need to buy Fright Night 2 and watch it because I've never watched it.
It is really cool, man. I don't want to ruin anything, but it is if original Fright Night was early 80s music, like the standard 80s night music, then Fright Night 2 is 80s new wave.
Ooh.
It is just infused, maybe a little too much sometimes, but I don't care. I love it anyway. They're vampires, for God's sakes. They can be weirdly stylish. But it's cool. I love it.
I need to watch that. I
actually saw it before part 1.
Really?
When I was a kid, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I need to watch it. I need to see it. So number 6 for me is Near Dark. The Catherine Bigelow directed. I mean, Bill Paxton is awesome in it. Just like one of his iconic characters, I believe. And I can say the word iconic. This isn't hyperbole. I think it's all right, so it's not very popular in the mainstream, but it's very popular in the horror scene. So I think it might be a mainstream kind of unfound gem. I would say I think the horror community loves it. Mm-hmm. But I just love the idea of them driving around the Winnebago. I like the meanness of it. I like the grittiness of it. I think Catherine Bigelow, when you watch her films, whether it be, Point Break or Hurt Locker or Zero Dark 30, she's found a way of really getting in the action, making it grimy and kind of putting you in the present. And that's what Near Dark does. And I loved it.
Oh yeah, Bill Paxton's character gets shredded, and then there's the kid Norman. What's his name? But the kid vampire, that was an interesting approach to the kid vampire. I'm sure it's been done before. There were so many vampire movies in the 70s, but that's the earliest kid vampire that really struck me before we got to Kirsten Dunst in 1994.
I can still picture her slitting people's throats, Kirsten Dunst. Jeez Louise.
Gosh, cold as ice. Right. So Near Dark, by the way, that went from being in my top 5 to not being in my top 10. This is how erratic this is. This is how unfair, in a way, I find this question to be. It's like I could give you a different list every day of the week. For me, number 6, 1985, Tobe Hooper's Life Force. His contemporized remake of basically vampires from space.
I just watched this the other day. No, not the other day. Probably 3 months ago. For the first time ever. And I quite enjoyed it. I mean,
it is so weird.
Very weird. And it kind of reminds me of the Prince of Darkness by Carpenter. Just not the same type of film, but just the overall weirdness of it. And
except its story makes sense. As weird as it is.
Oh, Prince of Darkness?
No, Prince of Darkness, I'd say the story doesn't make sense.
Oh, yeah. No, Life Force makes sense. And I really dug it. I thought I liked the kind of paranoia in the beginning. I thought that was really smart. No, I mean that's a solid number 6 for you.
Yeah, and really ambitious. That was a really ambitious film with some weird sci-fi opening shots. Just a cool movie. If anyone hasn't seen Life Force, I hard recommend.
All right, you want to do your number 5?
God, we're getting into the top 5. This is where it's serious. So 2009, the Korean film The Thirst.
Oh my God.
Or actually, I think it's just called Thirst.
So good. Yeah, so good.
That is probably the heaviest vampire film on my list. That is the one where I feel a little bit of emotional gut punch to it. Although Near Dark from your list would also do that a little bit to me. But Thirst, man, that's a bit crushing in a very, I don't know, apprehensive yet impressive way.
So wherever you're at right now, if you're driving, whatever, just visualize this. It's a 99-degree day out. You have a 40-pound weight, like the weight vest strapped to you. It just rained, and it stopped, and now you got that gross condensation coming up. It's evaporating back into the atmosphere, and you see the mist kind of coming off the concrete. And and imagine a 4-mile uphill run. Now make that run. By the end of it, in 99-degree heat, with the gross stuff coming up on the ground, 40-pound weight, you ran up 4 miles uphill. That's what first thirst feels like when you're done with it.
Dude, and it's impressive. I saw it and loved it. And then 5 years later, I saw it on Amazon, bought it, watched it for a second time. And even though I love that movie and have never written about it, I'm not ready to watch it again yet. I'm not like mentally ready to sit down and have the energy sapped out of a Saturday or Sunday for me. Yep. It's a great movie though. It's a great movie. I've seen it twice and I'm not ready to see it again.
And it's not a get the friends over and watch it film either.
No.
All right.
No.
So my number 5 is Shadow of the Vampire.
Nice.
I think this is a brilliant film. I love it that it basically posits that F.W. Murnau, the director of Nosferatu, actually found a vampire and Max Schreck, and he actually filmed this vampire to play Count Orlok for the 1922 classic Nosferatu. So for me, as someone who you've probably heard talk about just the filmmaking process, and I love the idea that someone's just like, hey, maybe Max Schreck was really a vampire. And they filmed it, and he was. That's why the performance is one of the all-timers. And I think it has one of my favorite lines, because, on film sets, there's a hierarchy to it. And Max Schreck, Count Orlok, wants to eat the actress, to drink the blood of the actress. He's like, well, give me the writer then. I mean, it's very funny. And I mean, you have Willem Dafoe as Max Schreck, Count Orlok. Then you have John Malkovich as F.W. Murnau. Carrie Ells, very good cast, very well made, very funny. That's my number 4.
So, I still have not seen that. And one day that's probably worthy of a podcast.
It makes me so happy. It's such a good movie.
The podcast in the future could be called All the Nosferatus.
Yeah. Oh, I would love that.
But all right. So my number 4. That was your number 4, right?
That was my number 5.
Your number 5. Okay. My number 4. I don't know if this will surprise people or not, but this decision has a little bit to do probably with the age at which I saw this several times. But 1987's The Lost Boys.
Got it. Yeah, I saw that later on in life. If I would have seen it in the early 90s, I think I would have loved it. Like Corey Feldman, the Corys. But I guess I saw it later on. It didn't really hit me as much as it would have been had I been younger and watched it.
I probably saw this edited on television or maybe on HBO when I was 11 or 12, and I probably saw this movie almost every year until I was 18. It was just the right time, and the crushes, the crush seems less cheesy. The guy basically making love to a saxophone on the stage feels less cheesy. It all just feels cool. When you're younger, and everything was so slick. And again, I was the age of Corey Haim and the Frog Brothers, kind of averaging out a lot of the time I saw it. So that it sticks so hard in my memory. And a scene that maybe so many people would laugh at as stupid. Those are maggots. But yeah, that's my number 4.
That was supposed to be a G-rated movie directed by Richard Donner, which they started the script after Goonies, but then Joel Schumacher got on board and he went, nope.
Good.
Yeah, and he turned it into something else completely.
I'm really happy with that, yeah.
My number 4 is Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. We recorded a 2-hour podcast about it. Listen to that. That'll explain all my thoughts.
We have a lot.
Yeah.
And you got really awesomely deep into the making of that difficult film.
I researched everything about it because I'm obsessed with it. I think the practical effects are brilliant. I love the story about how Francis Ford Coppola dealt, he loved Keanu Reeves and Keanu Reeves worked so hard and he didn't want to direct him too much with his accent. I just think it's a beautiful looking movie. Earned an Oscar for best costume design. I would say Bram Stoker's Dracula is the best looking, and Let the Right One In's the best has the best cinematography, at least to me. So, what's your 4?
I thought that was going to crest into your top 3. Well, so my 4 was The Lost Boys. So now we're getting into my 3. My number 3 is tonight's feature discussion, 1985, Fright Night.
So good. You're going to hear a lot about it.
I love that film. I saw it after I saw Fright Night 2, but this is another one of those movies that I came across probably in middle school, which really makes it such a perfect age when you're watching a movie where your protagonist, as it also often is in 80s and 90s horror, even today's horror, it's basically the coming of aged characters, these late teens. And, so that's what you look up to. That's what you imagine yourself as when you're 13 is, 18 and cool and adult. And see, I love it, but I love it today. It hasn't been lost on me. So yeah, that's my number 3.
It's aged well because how weird it is, and how it has its personality. All right. So my number 3 is Thirst. I can't.
Oh, cool.
I love Thirst. I love it. I think it's one of the best acted, one of the most insane. It takes you to very dark places, but that's my number 3. What's your number 2?
1994, Interview with a Vampire with throat-slitting Kirsten Dunst.
Oh, wow.
As the young vampire.
Oh, man. Shoot, I haven't watched that movie since I saw it on VHS probably in 95.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I love this movie.
Tom Cruise,
love this movie.
Tom Cruise chewing the scenery.
Yeah. And Antonio Banderas and Brad Pitt. It was just such a who's who of long-haired fops.
Christian Slater.
Christian Slater, right? It's but no, it ages well for me. I probably haven't seen it in 4 or 5 years, but I've seen it many, many times.
All right, so my number 2 is Let the Right One In.
Nice.
I've never seen a better looking vampire film. Just the way they built it, the girl with her handler, how bloody it gets, the way she talks when she gets angry, that pool scene. I watched this movie just in a dark room, and nowadays everyone's attention spreads so far everywhere, and I remember giving this all of my attention, and I just was transfixed by it. I mean, it was just I love this. I love it. It's so good.
That's another tough movie. I won't quite put it in thirst category, but that's not something that I can just that I'll watch every year.
You know what I think has been interesting? I've been so desensitized by the tough movies that now when tough movies come out, I'm like, yeah, they're not that bad.
Agreed. But I don't want to. This isn't one that I just would errantly jump into. Like, it's a Sunday afternoon, it's stormy out, I'm gonna throw in a horror movie. Like, this isn't that movie for me unless I'm, like in just the right mindset, or I'm gonna watch it and the remake or something, or I don't know, or you're doing child vampire movies today.
I'd have to throw in like What We Do in the Shadows or the Fright Night remake, or
it's the follow up.
Yeah.
Lighten it up.
All right, so number one, what's your number 1?
Do you guess what my number 1 is?
Can I guess what your number 1 is? What vampire movies have we not talked about? All right, let me think. How about we do my number 1, and then I'll think about your number 1 while we're talking about my number 1.
Okay, your number 1.
1922's Nosferatu.
Damn. I mean, not damn. I didn't get you in my top 3. Your Bram Stoker was number 4.
You know what I love so much about this movie is Murnau was trying to get the rights to Bram Stoker's Dracula, and they're like, well, you can't have it. So he just made a movie with a Count Dracula and changed it to Count Orlok. He had the different characters. He had Ellen. He had Thomas. He had Knock. Like, he changed the characters' names and made the same exact story. And the performance from Max Schreck, I mean, the film wasn't that old by then, but Max Schreck, the way he moves, the way he embodies his sweet coat, that great shadow scene. This movie is a work of art, and I think it's maybe one of the more influential horror films ever made. And they actually they lost a lawsuit, and they wanted every copy of the film to be burned, but some survived. And it has become this movie that ripped off Count Dracula, and has become its own classic. So now when people talk about remakes or ripping off, I'm like, yo, one of the first classics ever made was a ripoff of a movie. But I just love Max Schreck's performance. I just think the way he moves. I mean, this is very much in the earlier stages of film, and I just think it's movies like this that they just had one camera that they had to, the roll of film. They had not too much lighting, but I just think the way they captured it, there's some of the iconic shots, Sweet Coats. It's my number one. I think it's perfection for me. And then your number one is, all right, I gotta do this quick. All right, so we're thinking. All right, so I think it's in the 90s and it's Vampire in Brooklyn.
No, it's Bram Stoker's Dracula, buddy. It's Bram Stoker's Dracula. Because I accidentally said it. But yeah, it's appropriately another Bram Stoker story, but just not so much a ripped off one, just a retold way down the line. 1992.
And I know some people are going to be huffing about the 1931 Dracula not being in here, but for me it came down to I just like Nosferatu more, and I think I just think the personality of it, and I also think the personality of Bram Stoker's is untouchable.
It's interesting also, like when you reflect on those older vampire movies. So when I was younger, I could not appreciate old movies, like even the 70s. I did not have a patience for them. And only now, like 20 years into watching horror movies, have I gotten deep into the early 80s and started to get into the 70s. And I'm only now thinking, okay, now I want to see what films influenced these films that I love. Only now am I really getting there. So, like, for me, my not having these films in my list is that when I was younger, I wasn't mature enough to even sit through them. So they're not even in my repertoire. And eventually, like, if we did this list in another 2 or 5 years, maybe my average year would shift a lot. So
that makes a lot of sense. And
yeah,
also,
so that's why none of them. My oldest vampire film here is 1985. It's
but here's the thing: we are doing the top list. We're not doing the best. Like I would have what House of Dracula, the Hammer horror film with Christopher Lee. I'd have 1931's Dracula in the top list, but this is in the best of list. This is my top list, man.
But people are going to want to witch trial me. You see, I've never actually seen them.
Gotcha.
It's like I would try to watch them and have no patience for them. So that's why for me it's impossible to be on my top 100 list. I've seen 100 other vampire movies.
And you know what I love about the early monster movies, Creature from the Black Lagoon? Look how much that inspired Guillermo del Toro and what we're watching now. And so I think people watch Spielberg are directing movies now. Guillermo del Toro had his love. All these horror, like Psycho, Carpenter hated the ending of that so much that led him to partially make Halloween. And so these classic movies, I kind of take them as that, as kind of like as a history of film. Now, are every movie as good looking as Let the Right One In? Are they as efficient? But I mean, Roman Colosseums didn't have working, electrical elevators, so you can't fault them for that. So I don't know. I had to put Nosferatu because if I had to pick one vampire iconic image, it would just be one of the images of Max Schreck in this film. That was a long question.
Yeah, and you mentioned just when you were rattling off things that didn't make your list, you mentioned Byzantium. That was among mine. Like We Are the Night, that German vampire flick, was among mine. One of the Underworld films, Innocent Blood, which was one of the earlier R-rated vampire kind of humorous movies. Like but yeah, like I was struggling with what was even going to be in the top 10 there.
I have a feeling if I watch The Hunger from 1983, I need to watch that with Tony Scott and David Bowie. That might make my top. I need to watch The Hunger.
I haven't seen that since high school, and at the time I didn't. That's a movie that you need to be a little more mature for. And so, like, yeah, for me, that was disqualified from even consideration. Like, I didn't even want to go into that.
All right, so you ready for some Fright Night? We're doing it, John.
We're finally doing it. We were going to do it, and then I think life got in the way for one or both of us about a year ago, and now here we are. And then we were going to do it a week and a half ago, and then my computer died, and I had to buy a new computer that I'm on right now. Like, the world was trying to stop us, but we're going to give the definitive Fright Night discussions.
Oh, I felt like I was Charlie, and this podcast was Jerry. It
just forever looming.
That's right. But we're doing it, man. We're doing it. I'm excited.
1985's Fright Night. Whew.
Can we do something nerdy really quick?
What do you want to do?
Well, can we talk about that time of vampire cinema in 1985 and where it was kind of at?
Take us away.
So there were like earlier vampire films, kind of comedies. Fearless Vampire Killers, 1967. You had Love at First Bite, Blackula, Night Stalker. There was like Daughters of Darkness, Ganja and Hess, and then Martin, made by Romero. But the vampire genre was it just wasn't really moving. You had The Hunger in 83, and I guess they were kind of taking vampires towards these places of, where the hunger's at. Or in 1985, they made Transylvania 5000. They made Once Bitten, Life Force. Like, vampires were not looked at as, like, scary or like, I don't know what, sexy, I guess, in 85. And then Fright Night comes along.
Mm-hmm.
And, then later on you had Near Dark in 87. You had Vampire's Kiss, Monster Squad, Lost Boys. So the genre then 91 was Bram Stoker's Dracula. So I don't know if Fright Night was the exact catalyst for bringing vampires back, but it certainly was because of its box office success and large cult audience.
Mm-hmm.
And you originally had told me about that. I was kind of unaware of vampire cinema in the 80s until you really chimed me in on that. So how did you kind of pick up on the Fright Night influence?
Personally, it was my local video store when I was in middle school, and I was given permission to rent R-rated movies. And for me, they were almost always horror movies. By the way, they were almost always, I think I mentioned this on the podcast before, but with our question submitter, Brett, who now lives in Clearwater, Florida, near me. Well, we grew up in Haddonfield, New Jersey. Haddonfield, by the way, folks, New Jersey.
Hey, now.
And so we got into it, and I would just, in the most classic sense, I would pick up, the empty VHS thing on the rack and look at the back, and if it had cool-looking effects like a melty face, I was all over it. So I just kind of stumbled into this stuff. And in my case, I saw Fright Night 2 first, as I said earlier, and then because I liked that, the next Saturday when I went to rent my next video, it was very probably the first Fright Night, and I probably rented that 5 different times. So I was into it accidentally. I wasn't into it because I knew it was cool or popular, because this would have been in the early 90s or mid 90s. This was just a kid stumbling into his own geekdom for me.
And then when did you sort of learn of its influence on other vampire films? Because you told me about that.
Well, it probably wouldn't have been until about 8 or 10 years ago. Really, right around just before the time that you stumbled across me, we reconnected, and I started writing a lot of horror for movies, films, and flicks. So it was around that time that I was starting to get moderately into movie collecting, and then you'd start marathoning movies by theme because you have them. And it was really just then that I started to notice. And maybe I'm going to be really honest with you, man. Like I'm 37 years old. It really might be in the last 3 or 4 years that I've started to notice it most.
Got it.
As we watch Bram Stoker's Dracula, right? And we see these other movies again and again, and we start to put together all the pieces from our movie repertoires in our head of kind of what influenced what and what themes are emergent at the time of movie X versus movie Y. So this is not old hat knowledge for me. And
you know what I found most interesting is I really love how this is like I'm not going to say it's a precursor for film because for Scream, because Kevin Williamson watched Wes Craven's New Nightmare, then got the idea for Scream from that, but maybe he had Fright Night in his head, because this is a movie about a kid who loves bad horror films, who has a vampire move in next door. And the director, Tom Holland, thought it was hilarious. He's like the boy who cried wolf. He wanted to be like a Rear Window, Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window type film, and he wrote it in 3 weeks.
Right, and almost immediately on the coattails of Psycho 2.
Oh yeah, and that was big.
Yeah, the unexpectedly big TV movie, and then all of a sudden he's writing this. Yeah, it's a ramshackle bum rush.
And I don't know. I just this movie feels like, and not in a bad way, that it was written in 3 weeks. It feels written with a lot of love to it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see that. Like, this is there is no deep thought synthesis to this, but it's still a well crafted, superficially kind of simple story, in my opinion. It's just a very good simple story.
And you know what's most important for me with this movie? Actually, wait, I'll finish this then. But I think during the documentary "You're So Cool, Brewster," one of the guys said it has its own identity. So whether by Charlie's mom, who's funny, she goes to like other people's houses and plays poker. Then you have Evil Ed, and you have all these characters like you don't even know what Billy Cole is. You have some very offbeat line readings. You have very good practical effects. You have some out there performances. You have some very heartening performances. But this movie, I think, has lived on so much is because it stands out from its peers because it has its own identity.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, albeit on a short-term writing basis, right? Like we said, 3 weeks. But it was written by someone who loved the material that was going to page. And I think that's why things like Stranger Things do so well, or these movies that take forever to get realized on screen. Well, that means that those writers had all this time to get those ideas together. And again, Tom Holland might have only had 3 weeks, but he was pouring his own love into it. This wasn't just like some guy who was assigned to write something random that their heart wasn't in. His heart was in it right away, and he thought this was so cool. He wasn't just doing what he thought would make money.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, yeah, and I kind of like that he had to rush to get this made. I love that there's a character called Peter Vincent, because Peter Cushing, Vincent Price. You had a good point, and then I kind of lost my train of thought. But this is, I think this movie came from a guy who loved it, and you know what I think is another important facts is that the crew on this movie was pretty young, and they really busted their butts to make these practical effects and to make everything as gooey. And I mean, the set design looks great, the mansion looks great, and these were guys that were working 18 hours a day, but they were young and hungry, and you can tell.
Yeah, and back in a time when I guess you could get away with that a little better.
I mean, they did some crazy crap in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So.
Do you want to drop a synopsis on everyone right now?
Sure. So again, not the most complicated thing. A teenage horror film fan discovers that his new next-door neighbor is a vampire. And after failing to convince his mother, his friends, and the police, he decides to take matters into his own hands.
And the film opens up with some very loud kissing.
Very loud But you know what? That's what kissing was when we were just starting to learn how to kiss.
I tell you what, the movies from the 80s to now have really changed. Because
all that smacking, like rib eating, lip smacking kisses.
Oh no, the scene where so it's a boyfriend girlfriend, Charlie played by William Ragsdale, and Amy played by Amanda Burse of Married with Children. But it opens up kind of rough, very 80s, where they're making out and this guy keeps trying to like push himself on this girl. Then she yells, "Stop it!" And she goes, "Give me a break." She's like, "We've been going together for almost a year, and all I hear," so she stop. Like he tries to like force himself on her. She pushes him away. And then the first line we get out of Charlie is, "We've been going together for almost a year, and all I hear is Charlie, stop it." And
right.
I'm like,
exposition bomb.
And I'm like, this is very 80s. Like that this could not happen in the 2017s. But I get.
And in a 30-second turnaround, she all of a sudden decides that she's ready.
Yeah, and you're just like, geez, like, you're just thinking like, man, these 80s movies were crazy. But then she kind of decides, hey, like, let's do it. And then he sees two guys moving a coffin into a house, John.
You know, it's funny. So I've seen this movie upwards of 12+ times. And I've seen the footage. I've probably seen the making of documentaries multiple times. And even just this year, I've seen this movie more than once. I only noticed just in my viewing before this podcast discussion that we're having that when they're moving the coffin in, Billy Cole is using two hands, and Jerry has one hand in his pocket.
I did not notice that.
Again, I've seen it so many times. He had one hand casually in his pocket and had one hand, and his other hand was carrying his half of this big wooden coffin.
Oh, that's awesome.
Again, I just see it so many times to notice. It wasn't obvious at all. It was very casual. It was on screen for a second and a half.
So we have this horror lover. He sees this guy carrying a coffin. His girlfriend, she runs out. Amy takes it horribly, runs out of the house.
Because Charlie clearly cares more about gawking at his new neighbor than Amy throwing herself at him.
It's an interesting character introduction, to say the least.
Yeah.
So she leaves. We meet the mom. The next day he's at school, and we meet Evil Ed, dude. Evil Ed.
This is an interesting character because while a lot is implied, they don't go out of their way to explain the history of Charlie and Ed. Like, at times they feel like more like they used to be friends and maybe used to be really close friends. But yeah, Ed is, Stephen Jeffries did an interesting job, with this character.
His line readings are some of the most unique line readings I've ever heard in my life, but they work.
Mm-hmm.
This character is memorable. He's a memorable character, and he's the one that gives Charlie the information about vampires, and he actually kind of hangs around for a while.
He is our Scream's Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah, you're right.
He's our Scream's Jamie Kennedy, and he's not the most generally popular or well-liked person, but he's liked and listened to by just enough.
What I liked about these two characters, though, Charlie and Evil Ed, they weren't self-conscious. They kind of go about their days. They're not trying to be anything other than what they are, I feel like. The tiny time we get to spend with them.
That was so we only meet those three as far as high schoolers really go. But there were no cliques, there were no dynamics, there was nothing that is the present trope in the 80s. 80s did it too, where there were the cool kids and the jocks or the music people. These were just three high schoolers who knew each other, and we didn't have to get into any of that BS about what their standing was.
Yeah, no jocks, no nerds. And then you learn Evil Ed was good at building stuff, so he was pretty smart. I mean, that Charlie had been with Annie for a year. Mm-hmm. You can't think of many movies that have done that. Just introduce characters.
Right. And again, and they keep it pretty much just to those characters. And it works quite splendidly. Something interesting about this movie is that I can't say about, maybe if I really struggle, but most other 80s horror or most other horror period is that I think that I liked every character in this film.
Yeah.
Every single character I liked, whether being sinister, misunderstood, hero, fool, or bully. I liked everybody.
And that scene with Amy where he's like, "Do you believe me?" And she's like, "Well, I love you, so I got your back."
Right, I've got your back. I.e., I don't necessarily believe you, but I'm gonna let's look into this.
But it was refreshing, right? And
it was nice. It was lived in.
Yeah, it's like, and they had been together for a year, I guess, and then even he apologized the next day. He's like, "I love you," like even though they get into some weird stuff in his room, like you can tell there's affection between them. And hey, so what do you think about the vampire in this movie, Jerry? What do you think about him?
So Jerry is maybe one of the most likable vampires that I can think of. Not necessarily best, but just plain likable. You want to invite him in your house. He's not sinister, and he's only menacing when he has to be.
He's part fruit bat.
He's part fruit bat. Chris Sarandon's own idea, yes. Always nibbling on an apple or something.
He's very cheeky in this movie. There's a sense of danger to him, but he's also very... I feel like he's been alive. Do we know how long he's been alive?
So that really wasn't brought up, but when we see him unpacking, and he has this painting when they're unpacking in his living room, and the painting is harkening back to Bram Stoker's Dracula, where Dracula had his love Elisabetta, and then he was trying to find her again in the form of Winona Ryder's character. And so like here we just see this painting. It goes totally unexplained, but the painting looks like Amy. And so that was a nice little flavor particle there. But you know, if you really look at him, so Charlie is kind of accidentally spying on him from bedroom to bedroom and sees him with, turns out on the news the next day, to be a now dead prostitute that he called to his home and fed on and had topless in the window. And he saw that Charlie was watching. So now he's got his eye on Charlie. And then Charlie comes poking around, but Jerry never directly threatens him, and he only smiles. And it's not until Jerry is really forced into a corner that he threatens Charlie.
I think it might be a little bit of cockiness on his part because he's been around for so long that he's just kind of like, I'm not worried about this kid.
I mean, it could be a little of that. I mean, so Charlie starts snooping around, right? And when he's snooping around the house, that's when we meet Billy Cole. And this character, I wonder if the movie Weird Science came out before or after this, or if they came out really close together, because Billy Cole seems like a much more pleasant and personable version of Biff.
But he's still a straight up bully.
Or no, this came out a year after, didn't it? But yeah, it's like he's a bully, but I don't hate him for it. Whereas Biff, Bill Paxton in 1984's Weird Science, he was just the jerk of jerks.
I feel like Billy would have been chill with Charlie, but Charlie keeps messing around on their lawn, so he's just messing with the kid. He's just bullying the kid. I don't think he would have gone to his house and been a bully.
Right. Yeah, he's basically Jerry's daytime caretaker. He's referred to by Charlie's mother as a live-in carpenter. With obviously, of course, she gave a suggestion of like, oh gosh, I hope he's single. Then again, a live-in carpenter, he's probably gay with my luck. And that's something that comes up quite a bit in a very tactful way as well, is that kind of that, would you call it pansexuality of vampirism?
Oh, for sure. And
yeah,
in the documentary, the actor was saying how that was never discussed on set, but the ways that Tom Holland would have him do certain things, he watched it and he's like, oh, I see what Tom was doing. So, I mean, yeah, I don't think what would you say, pansexuality, I don't think that was an accident, but it's never discussed.
Well, other than the mother making a reference that they're probably gay. But of course, that was before knowing them or seeing them at all. That was just an offhanded comment slipped in there.
The 80s.
That mother, by the way, she was interesting to me because she struck me as the sociable inverse of Heather Langenkamp's mom. That is, I'm sorry, the character Nancy's mom in Nightmare on Elm Street. So she's single, she's divorced, right?
Yeah.
But it's a totally absentee, alcoholic, dismissive, controlling mother in Nightmare on Elm Street. Whereas here, she's very contemporized. She's, oh no, it's good that you kids are fighting now. Marriages work better if you fight before you're married. You know, you kids having a lover's spat, and oh, I wonder if the new man next door is single. She's not an antagonist, whereas parents in 80s horror are typically ancillary antagonists to our victims or protagonists' goals.
She was like an Amblin mom, single, never around parent in a horror movie.
But pleasant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's just the kind of nice mom, but she had to work nights, so she was probably working long hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I liked her a lot. I didn't realize her character was that good until after I watched the documentary. And then when I had the movie on in the background, because we've been doing this planning on this for about a year, I was like, oh wow, she does have a personality. This mom, she's nice. She's cool.
And again, every character is relevant that really gets any time on the screen. So, and she invites Jerry in, so now Jerry can get into the house whenever he wants because she invited him over or something, or maybe he really kind of, instigated that outside. But either way, he's inside. It almost sounds like they were talking about a date because he implied that he'd be coming by periodically with his mother's, permission, kind of. They're having a drink when Charlie gets there. But that was a cute little interaction. Again, maybe this goes back to, like you said, he doesn't need to be threatened by this kid, but he's just there kind of nonchalantly letting Charlie know that, hey, I've been invited in and I'm here, but it's all smiles. When she leaves the room, there's no sneer. He's
probably killed like 8 Van Helsings.
I mean, in his time, he probably would have. That painting looked old.
So Charlie, he's just like this little turd. I'm going to kind of scare him.
That painting looked at least Victorian.
Do you think his plan was good, though, just dialing up like a prostitution service and killing them all? I mean, that's got to be traced, because he did it to 2 women.
So he did it to 2 women, and Charlie's onto it, and Charlie sees after the first one he sees, and then the next morning there's news that it's a dead prostitute, and then the next, a day or 2 later he sees another, or a week, whatever it is, another prostitute arrives, and of course she's going to disappear, and so Charlie is onto this, and maybe it's more that when you normally move into the suburbs, like, it really takes a kid of the right age, like Charlie, to be a pest. Because if everyone works regular work hours, like, they might just be minding their own business when they get home from work.
Yeah.
And small kids don't really understand what they're seeing a lot of the time. So maybe this was just an oversight and inconvenience. But I agree. If we're just going to be in the middle of the suburbs and randomly have prostitutes dropped off at the house, that alone can draw the eyes of someone.
Yeah, his plan didn't seem too good. It seems like he's just gotten cocky.
I mean, maybe. I wonder how long he planned on even living at each address where he moves, or why he moved in the first place, or maybe he's like Connor McLeod in Highlander, and he has so much money that he can just afford to move house every 6 months.
That'd be a nightmare though, because they move house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he had that was a great staircase, and that stained glass. Like, it's got to be hard to find nice houses like that.
Yeah, that was tough. But I mean, if I was Billy Cole, I wouldn't move him every 6 months.
I mean, we don't fully know their arrangement, but they seem really cool with each other, and very, and not just Billy to Jerry. They seem quite devoted to each other. They don't. It doesn't necessarily seem like a servant per se all the time.
Got it. Hey, I got an idea. Let's go on Zillow. Let's look up vampire house prices, and let's see how often Jerry can move. And when we come back from break, we'll tell everyone about it. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I have some bad news, John.
Uh-oh.
So apparently the house next door to me on Zillow, someone just bought it. And they blacked out all the windows, and I saw 2 people carrying a coffin.
Well, I mean, maybe it's just a mortician in training who works nights.
Ooh. Yeah, you're right. That sounds good.
Totally practical.
Yep. Doing some work at the house when he gets home.
While they're student mortician, they can't afford a bed, but rather than just have a cheap cot or air mattress, they have a loner coffin with nice cushioning.
And
they sleep in.
And then since they work nights, they have to block off every single window in their house, not just the windows in their bedroom.
Yeah, all of them. Makes total sense.
Not just a place where they sleep.
Right.
You're making me feel pretty great, man. I was really worried, but I feel pretty confident now. Thank you.
I mean, you should just invite the person over for a drink.
Yeah.
Get to know them.
Yeah, just send them an invite. I think so. And just be like, yeah, I'm home alone a lot. I don't have an alarm system.
I'm just going to invite you over anyway, so.
Mosquitoes love me for some reason. I don't understand it.
Yeah. Guess my blood is sweet or something.
Oh, no, I don't have any family. Wait, a job? No, I work from home. Yeah, I'm a painter.
Yeah, if I fell off the edge of the earth, no one would even know it for months.
In fact, I got lost in the wilderness for 2 weeks. No one even knew about it.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Hopkins and I survived a bear attack in Alaska.
That was quite, and I told people I didn't have anyone to tell about it.
I wrote a blog. It had one page view because once I looked at it before logging in.
Yeah, and I click refresh to buff my numbers. And then
that would be a really depressing little vampire story.
That'd be like a short film, and the vampire's like, go on.
Just some dude like Milton Fledgecow, the victim of a vampire. No one knew or cared.
And the vampire's like, I got enough victims. I'm gonna turn your life around.
That's right. I'll bet Jerry would do that.
You think so?
Jerry was so nice. I mean, we'll get into it a little more later, but he was actually very understanding.
Yeah. He's like, just keep, yeah. So maybe Jerry was the good guy in this movie. Maybe,
honestly, if it wasn't for those kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel kind of badly for those prostitutes.
Yeah, that was murder.
I mean, that was he was straight up killing prostitutes.
Yeah, no, he's Christian Bale from American Psycho.
Wait, earlier you were talking about how poor his plan was, remember? So Charlie sees the first prostitute through the window, right? And then the next day, he's in the cafeteria, and he sees the news reveal that there was a dead prostitute. Or it seemed like the next day. Maybe it was 2 or 3 days later. But how... That means that a body turned up somewhere.
Yeah.
What are they doing with the bodies? Why aren't they just burning the bodies or chopping up and burying the bodies? How is a body discovered? Did they dump it somewhere? That seems reckless.
This town has some Keystone Cops.
I can't help but to think you're right. I'm beginning to think that Jerry and Billy, their hubris is getting ahead of them. They are not good planners anymore.
Yeah, pride comes before the fall.
So, mentioning Jerry and Billy, we got a question about Billy.
Ooh.
So, Zane from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, he submitted a question. He says, what do you think Billy Cole is actually supposed to be? He has a reflection. He seems impervious to bullets, but he dies by a stake through the heart.
So, even the director and the actor don't know what he is. So, I'm thinking homeboy Jerry had some crazy incantation and did some ritual to make him so he could live in the day, but he wasn't quite a vampire. But he gets shot in the head and survives, so he's not a zombie. I just think it's some immortality thing. Maybe he can't be a Highlander.
Well, Tom Holland didn't necessarily say what he was, but he said how he became what he was.
Oh, how'd he do that?
So he expressed that it's not in the movie, but he said Billy has absolutely been bitten and hasn't turned yet.
So you can take bullets in the head when you're turning into a vampire?
But, well, you see, the idea is that he'd never turned so that he could be the daytime caretaker.
So he's a perpetual almost there?
I mean, maybe this is one of those things almost like Renfield where he's, he has to provide some kind of timely servitude until maybe a new, mid-turn vampire is chosen, a mid-turn victim is chosen, and Billy is rewarded with true vampirism.
Wait, you're talking about John, did you just eat a spider?
These are the delicious small pleasures.
I thought it was a raspberry.
What?
A raspberry?
Say raspberry.
Raspberry?
Raz.
I saw you just eating a bug. And its tooth is hanging out your mouth.
But yeah, so this is interesting though, like, because I feel like in a lot of vampire mythos, like, so you got to complete maybe some kind of like a blood baptism or something, which we later would see him do to Amy, just like Bram Stoker, right? So I guess that was never done to Billy. But again, this is not on the viewer to know this. This is just something Tom Holland dropped. And by the way, I don't know if he dropped it in You're So Cool, Brewster, or in the original documentary that's much older and longer.
I have a question. If Billy becomes a full vampire, does that mean his hair becomes longer and his biceps become bigger?
Were his biceps not adequate?
No, when Amy turns into a vampire, her hair grows
12
inches.
And her breasts grow.
Yeah, and the guys, the prop makers were joking around about that. And her teeth.
Right. Oh, yeah. Significantly. But
is Billy Cole going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger?
But so, like, that. So this is interesting. So in Fright Night 2, not that we're discussing that in this episode, but in Fright Night 2, we see a better version of a Billy Cole-esque character that is in that caretaker in-between state.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's Brian Thompson. He was like a bit, he always played like a bad guy thug number one in like 80s and 90s movies. But he eats a lot of moths and insects in it. He's very strong and tough, but he walks around in the daytime and he oversees the transportation of coffins and stuff. So like they kind of took in part 2, they took it upon themselves to make a slightly better explanation of what this role is.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's like he comes. So not knowing what Tom Holland said, though, I would have wanted to assume that Billy was, waiting to get rewarded with vampirism or something. He seemed almost like some kind of a weird revenant ghoul thing that looked perfectly preserved. But yeah, like when you shoot someone, he got shot 6 times. You shoot somebody 6 times and then stake him. And he seemed a little affected. He wasn't impervious to those bullets. One of his eyes was all messed up. It took him a while to get up after the first shot when he got shot in the head. Like, it's a weird thing. And I have a feeling that before Tom Holland was interviewed about this stuff, that he only gave his answer because so many people had asked.
I guess I never wondered what he was, and then when someone asked, I was like, oh my gosh. But I think that's part of the fun of it. I think all those bits were set up for laughs, and then no one thought about what the character was.
Yeah, and who's to say if Tom Holland knew at the time? He might have known at the time, I don't know, but or if he kind of like got that idea a little better together after the fact.
All right, so thank you, Zane, for the question. That was awesome.
Yeah, Zane's given us a few questions over the years. But I'd like to get back to good old Jerry. So when Jerry is really made, and Charlie has been poking around the house a lot, and then Charlie tries to get the cops over there, and that doesn't work out. The cops don't believe him. Billy Cole is just joking around with them. And he tries to tell Peter Vincent. Peter Vincent at the first pass doesn't believe him. And then Jerry attacks Brewster one night in his room. So this is when Charlie has truly proven that he's not going away and that he's going to try and out this vampire, that Jerry actually confronts him in his bedroom.
And he gets stabbed with a pencil through the hand. He
seemed way too affected by that, by the way. When I first saw this movie, I assumed that it was a pen and that it was silver or something.
It's just a wooden pencil in his hand.
Right, it's just a pencil. It's like so that was surprising. It was a fun little scene, but he is like throwing Charlie around, and at one point though, contrary to what anyone would have expected, he doesn't offer to spare Charlie if Charlie joins him. He offers to let Charlie go if he just forgets all about it.
Yeah, he's like, come on, man, let it be.
And this is where I look at Jerry and I'm like, he never wanted to kill Charlie. Maybe some prostitutes, who knows why, but he just wanted Charlie to stop, being a pest and potentially outing him. And when Charlie says no, he just looks at him. You can see that it pains him. Like, he's been here before. He's had to do this before. He just says, fool. He just looks crushed.
I feel like he would have killed Charlie anyway, somehow. I think he would have had... I mean, he just can't have a kid next door to him knowing he's a vampire.
I don't think he seemed emotionally distressed when Charlie denied that.
Maybe he's a former actor.
Maybe he's a former actor. And then, so then Charlie defeats him by virtue of a pencil. And then I think Charlie's mother yelling down the hall, which for some reason was scary to that vampire as well.
But it got to show the cool transformation.
Right, yeah, we got to see like the next stage, I guess, of him, where he starts to look a little monstrous.
Those are some cool effects.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, can we talk about my favorite character in this movie, Peter Vincent? Roddy McDowell?
So Charlie went to him the first time. He didn't believe him.
Jeez Louise. So why would an 18-year-old think that a washed-up actor would know how to kill vampires?
Yeah, so this is where I get back to the very simple but not necessarily a very deep plot.
Yeah, just a funny thing. But you know what I like most about this performance by Roddy McDowell? There is a lot of heart to it.
Oh, yeah.
It was a very sensitive performance.
A wonderful, sympathetic character who's full of himself, but he's really kind of washed up, and he speaks with bravado, but when there's any real threat, he's maybe cowardly.
But he sticks through in the end.
After he runs.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, it's like I think it was his words in an interview, or maybe it was Tom Holland referring to his words, where the character was kind of identified as the cowardly lion who would eventually rise to occasion
and take a $500 bearer bond.
Right, like a bar mitzvah bond or something. It's from Amy. I have a $500 bond. I'll take it.
With inflation, that's over $1,000.
If it's even matured to the $500.
Oh yeah, that's true. But still, he takes his girl's money. But at least he goes to the house and does the test with Evil Ed.
So that test was pretty cute. When he goes over there and he totally believes that he's not a vampire, and it's only when he's checking his hair later with a prop from one of his vampire movies that he used to test a vampire that he sees that Jerry doesn't have a reflection.
Yep, and with hair that all the hair guys hated.
Yeah, right. That spray on white hoary hair.
And I think Jerry knew immediately, right, that what he saw?
I'm assuming so.
Because he followed them and he got Evil Ed.
Yeah.
And then he got poor Amy in the nightclub scene, end all nightclub scenes.
With that sultry 80s very long dance sequence. Well, long for what it was. Dance sequence there.
I mean, that's a very long dance sequence.
And he's just getting all in it with her. He kind of reaches towards her crotch, but doesn't quite deliver. I don't know. Maybe they're just implying to us a little bit. And then he's throwing bouncers around, and he slits one of their throats or something, I think, or slashes them.
Yeah. Who do you think would win, Dalton from Roadhouse or him?
Well, so the mythos suggests that if you behead a vampire, you kill it. So if Dalton throat rips him, if anyone listening, that's the Roadhouse protagonist. If he throat rips him, I mean, is that a practical beheading? I don't know. What if he roundhouse kicks after he throat rips?
The head's going off.
It might be gone.
He has the power to clear spine and cartilage off people's heads with one kick.
I mean, that might be it.
So he's lucky Dalton wasn't in there.
Probably.
So then what? He kidnaps Amy, right? And Evil Ed is turned into a vampire.
Yeah, that was another interesting scene. That was the more, I think, expected scene where he corners Ed and he offers to spare Ed's, life and air quotes for unlife, and, expressing how he won't have to be scared anymore. He won't have to this, that, and the other. He gives him the whole romanticized power talk. And Ed clearly accepts.
Yeah, and then Ed becomes a vampire.
An ugly vampire.
Do you think that annoys Billy?
I don't know if it annoys Billy or not. So I'm going to get a little meta here, but Billy and Jerry have a very lived-in relationship. Even if it's only a decade, they've been together for a while. They have probably had some discussions about what it would eventually be for him to be a vampire, or he has probably witnessed the things that Jerry has to deal with to protect himself as a vampire. So turning Ed into a vampire so willy-nilly, if you will, with no preparation or training or patience, might be kind of like handing a kid the keys to a car before he did driver's ed.
Because he does go kind of insane with power, Evil Ed. And it could lead to vampires being outed.
Yeah, and the other thing is that we don't really know what... So Billy was... I don't know if he was super strong at all. He seemed to be carrying that coffin like anyone else would. But he can take a few bullets. We don't know what other privileged semi-abilities he has between human and vampire. Maybe he liked that little boost that he had without the penalty of not being able to be in sunlight. Maybe he actually enjoyed where he was to be totally passably human when it mattered. I don't...
Maybe he likes going to the beach.
I would like to read a book called The Autobiography of Billy Cole.
Oh, I like this.
I would like to see, like, you know, Confessions of a Vampire's Caretaker. And to see, like, is he like the Renfield who is almost, like, been rendered insane over, would that eventually happen to him? Or is he someone that is pleasantly enjoying this? What if it was his choice to not be fully turned?
Yeah, you're right.
And to instead be caretaker and friend, and they get to be this yin and yang dominating sunup and sundown together and enjoy some journey. We don't really know what the payoff is when they aren't dealing with pesky teenagers.
Sounded like you just explained a 1980s action film with Sylvester Stallone and Dolph Lundgren, yin and yang.
Like I Rocky Ford them.
Now, a couple things we missed. There is a scene where Evil Ed is running away, and Charlie goes, "Where are you going, Pencil Dick?" And then there's also a scene in the club. If you watch the club scene in Fright Night, watch the extras. They're very good. Very good dancing extras. 80s dancing on point. I was really, like, normally I hate dancing extras, but in this movie I couldn't find fault with any of them.
And they didn't know what the music was going to be yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's no music during this. It's silent, so they're just basically moving around. So that makes it even more impressive, the extras in the club scene. So when you watch Fright Night, watch the club scene, and you'll see some great extra work.
So when Evil Ed catches up to Peter Vincent and they have a conflict, what'd you think of all that? All the effects that went with with Ed and his vampirism and then his wolfdom and all that. So
he goes through the whole process to become essentially a wolf, and then the wolf dies. So he's not. So werewolves don't look like the gooey werewolves, correct? They just look like a wolf.
Apparently.
Okay. I loved it. It's insane that he had to spend 18 hours in that makeup.
Yeah, that werewolf notion was really just like the interim, like it was just on a part of the transformation phase, I guess. That weird asymmetrical, like partially reverted formed after Peter Vincent stabs the true wolf form in the chest. Like that was brutal, man. It was interesting because I really sympathized with Ed as he was dying. And I also sympathized with Peter Vincent, who seemed horrified by what he had done, even though he had to do it.
Yeah, no, just the look on his face was so sad. And just the end with Evil Ed, the acting by the kid was really good at the end as well.
Yeah.
And I like what the guy said about the effects, in that he didn't want to be a symmetrical werewolf changing. He wanted to be a ugly, The Thing-esque change.
Yeah. And this guy he did both An American Werewolf in London and The Howling.
And then he made a different werewolf, which is really impressive, right?
Yeah, that's and those two were very different transformations as well. And so that was really cool. It added a lot of interesting flavor to things. And Ed I guess before that all happened, that was one of the weirdest readings that he gave too, when he's when he's in Charlie's bed.
What does he say? He's dressed up as the mom.
Charlie's mother had to leave for work.
Yeah.
But his dinner is in the oven. And like the way he goes, and Tom Holland in the documentary is even saying, like, who could do a reading like that?
It's inspiring. That's why people love that character.
And he's got those weird, like more like gummy, monstrous projecting teeth, which actually made me think of also a 1985 film, the Italian film Demons. And then that same chunky tooth mouth was used in like the Night of the Demons movies.
Oh yeah.
It just kind of a weird aside, but yeah, like Ed, boy.
What a great scene though when he transforms back into that. I mean, that's creature effects at its best.
And their co-emotional hangover at the I mean, what a neat. That was a great scene.
I like that.
Great scene.
I like that Peter Vincent's just scared shitless throughout. And he's just shocked at everything he sees. Because some of these movies, you watch them, and they almost, oh, hey, it's a kid, turning into a werewolf, turning back into a grotesque thing that's molting back into him. Like, he's shocked by all of this. I love that.
And I mean, it's funny when I really remember this movie. There were about 10 years where I didn't see this movie at all, leading up to maybe last year, and I had forgotten how many different effects there were in this film. Because then as we mentioned, Amy got kidnapped after the dance club scene, and she's bitten, and she's given some blood. She's left to turn. Charlie's going to rescue her, and now the girl who wasn't ready to grow up is forced to grow up a little too fast. And now she's got the bigger boobs and the longer hair and the yellow contact lens eyes, which I didn't know, but apparently was horrendously uncomfortable for any actors in those contacts back then. These green or these plastic granular contacts.
Yeah, they're horrible.
That covered like most of your eye surface, in fact. And so now she's like, hissing at Charlie basically, when they eventually find their way to the basement, and it's what Tom Holland called the shark mouth.
Oh yeah, and the effects people didn't really even like it, and then it became a focal point for the marketing.
Mm-hmm. A big surprise from the marketing department, and that was such a cool thing too. And they were even saying it doesn't even move, it can't be on screen very long, and they had it on screen quite a bit. She was moving most of the time, and so that was interesting.
And the guy's like, never trust the director.
Never trust a director ever. They're devils.
And then you got, so I mean, it's Billy Cole, it's Amy, and it's Jerry against Peter and Charlie. They get into the house. They actually kill Billy Cole by stabbing him in the heart, and he just melts.
Dude, that melting death. I love melting deaths. I love, you know me. I love gooey, gore slathered, sloppity, chunkety, gooey deaths. And so this was wonderful for me.
Yeah, he fell apart. He just melted.
It isn't scary, but it is conceptually horrifying.
Now, I gotta ask you a question. There's a scene where Peter Vincent shows Amy after she's become a vampire a cross, and she walks away. There's another scene where he shows the cross to Jerry, and Jerry's like, you don't believe.
Maybe an older vampire develops increased resistance, and then one needs faith or yet stronger faith. But a new vampire is offended or repulsed by the sheer iconography of religion.
Or just thinks it'll blow them up, so they run away.
Or that.
Fair enough. Good. You got me.
Well, like even Dracula in Bram Stoker's Dracula, or that is the 1992 film, Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. Dracula survived even after he had been staked for a while, and then he's stumbling around in the sunlight for like almost a minute, and he's suffering, but it isn't just lighting him up. Whereas I think that if one of his brides, I think they just would have been lit up. I think that he was too powerful to succumb so quickly.
Got it. I don't drink wine.
I don't drink. Okay.
Poor
I'm very British.
So what do you think about this bat in this movie when Jerry becomes a bat?
So that bat is so monstrous, and the face looks almost as more primate to me than bat, but I don't care. I think it's a really fun, cool-looking monster. I like the effect. monster effect, if you will. But that was fun for me. And when it attacks Peter Vincent, and then they like light it on fire. It goes barreling down the basement. And apparently during that scene, when they injured the bat and they had like some kind of a chemical reaction to make it smoke a bit, like that permanently scarred the neck of one of the effects guys. Like everyone, this is like guerrilla filmmaking in a way. When I hear what some of these crew went through.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get a bunch of young and hungry guys who aren't sleeping much and not much of a budget. They have to get creative.
Did you like the bat? Did you?
Yeah, it's fun. I liked it.
And so it goes down in the basement so that it can go hide in his coffin and regenerate or hide or whatever. And they go chasing down and hammer him in the chest. And then he turns into, well, I guess there's that scuffle, right? With the, breaking all the windows, get the sunlight in there. He seemed a little careless in that scene, by the way. Jerry.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he did. I feel like he should have known a little better what was going on.
There's not much situational awareness here with Jerry.
No, there's not. There's really not. It's okay, though.
All they had to do was put a blanket over that coffin, and everything would have been fine. Right? In the beginning.
Yeah. Presumably, yeah.
Or make your coffin look like a refrigerator.
Also not a bad idea.
Or a canoe.
Ooh. And so then he's still monstrous looking Jerry now, just like injured pencil in the hand Jerry, maybe a little more so. And when they finally end him with the sunlight, he goes into full hybrid bat form.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And it's this weird like skeleton thing that someone made when he's like when he's burning up. It was a fun. That was a neat thing. That was yet another effect that they didn't even need at that point, but that I loved that it was in there.
Well, they said they used everything they had to blow it up, and the guy burnt the bottom of his shoes off.
It was melting his feet or something.
Yeah, he was using something to counteract the acid, and the thing that counteracted the acid was, in fact, an acid. They're just not as bad an acid.
Right. He thought it was a base. But then again, this is the same guy who admitted in the documentary, or Tom Holland revealed in the documentary, that he caught him high on cocaine having sex with one of the set girls in his effects studio.
Yeah, and the guy just kept going back to cocaine.
That's how they made it through all this. But when all is said and done, though, these effects. Now, in execution, like the shaking of the skeleton, I can see how a 22-year-old today could look at it and be like, that's a little hokey. But when I look at that, I just see something that's hard to do and that looks cool. And I don't know. I think it all looked awesome.
No, I agree. What you know me, man. I'm big on practical effects. I think these still hold up.
Yeah, I think they're a lot of fun. They're very satisfying to me. And of course, I'm biased. I was watching this multiple times in the early 90s, but it's all a lot of fun. And in the end, it seems like Charlie and Amy reverts back to normal.
Yeah.
Fine.
Her long hair shrinks.
Her breasts go back to normal.
Very interesting.
Right. That's just the way, I suppose. And the vampire hormones went away.
And Tom Holland didn't know how to end this movie, and I think he did it perfectly.
Mm-hmm. I mean, go ahead.
You're so cool, Brewster. And you realize that Evil Ed's still alive. Right.
You see the glowing eyes in the very place where Charlie saw the first prostitute getting bitten. And that's
end with the tagline.
Yeah, I appreciated that. That was and you know what else? It gave you an ending that didn't feel like the heroes were screwed. Like in the end of the movie where, but it was a female and it laid eggs. It's like there's still someone out there, but it doesn't feel like we were cheated out of the victory of the heroes.
Like the ending of Deep Rising. You're like, these people are dead.
Like the ending of Deep Rising. One day we're really gonna pot about that one. One day.
I hope not.
No?
I mean, there's nothing to it. It's a bunch of squid arms killing people.
Oh, I love that movie. It's so gory.
It's a thing that this creature sneaks onto a boat, eats everyone, gets too big to get out of the boat, then gets blown up by a jet ski.
I could have a podcast just about how its digestive system works. It has 18 mouths. How does that work?
All right, we can do it. We can talk about the anatomy of the beast.
But so when you first saw this 1985 Fright Night, like, what was your takeaway? How did it strike you?
It just made me happy. It was a weird little thing, and it made me happy.
Yeah, I mean, this is a movie that I think that I come to love a little more and more every time I see it.
Yeah, I guess I've said it 3 times, but it has its own personality. It's a unique. It stands out from the crowd. It has really weird performances, enough practical effects. I think it's worth watching for any horror fan. I think anybody.
A young director who was tested for time just on the writing, an editor who was so junior that they had to kind of pull strings and break union rules to get the editor on. One of the effects guys was in the same thing, this kind of pulling strings. The makeup guy, that was another problem. Like, almost everyone was very junior.
Yep. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, go ahead. It's I don't expect something to be so great when I expect to see heart. I don't expect something to work that well.
But I guess so. Take a look at other horror films that have been Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He had made films before, but that was a very guerrilla style shoot with a bunch of people who hadn't done much of that before.
Mm-hmm.
Night of the Living Dead, they were a bunch of commercial filmers. I'm not saying Fright Night's on like the classic on the level of those classics. Blair Witch Project. So some of the best horror films are really made by young, inexperienced people because they're hungry, they're innovative. Evil Dead. These are people who have some experience and they're just hungry and they have good source material, and for some reason their directors are wise beyond their years and they make something like this. Nothing about this was corporate. Nothing about this was greed. This was a guy who had clout. He wrote something he loved. He got a hungry crew and they made it. But very much so by the seat of their pants. So I think this is lightning in a bottle, actually, this movie, because nothing about it, like, this wasn't the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. This wasn't the Bye Bye Man. These are something that was made by very hungry people. I think at the right time because it was sort of fresh. I think the John Hughes thing was still pretty popular at the time. There hadn't been a horror movie. Had there been a horror movie like Fright Night in some time? And also, they took a dig at slasher movies or like some madman in a ski mask. This was something different. I think kids really took to it because it wasn't the popular kids getting murdered. It wasn't jerky campers getting killed. These were nice kids, nice people battling a cheeky vampire.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was something different, something fun, and that's why it was such a success and continues to live on.
Yeah,
I got on my soapbox there.
No, you do it honor.
I blacked out there like
you do it honor, like Will Ferrell in Old School.
Yeah, I'm back with it now. But no, I think some of my favorite horror, like if you look at The Witch, that was one of his first films. Spring, It Follows. It's kind of interesting to see how, I should maybe look at horror films with first-time directors or second-time directors. Halloween, John Carpenter wasn't that new of a director.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Wes Craven made Last House on the Left when he didn't really know what he was doing.
Yeah, that was like 72.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe that's just what this movie was. Maybe that's what this movie needed.
Yeah, and it turns out that the only reason that Tom Holland wasn't involved in Fright Night 2 was just because when they first started talking about it, he was already busy with Child's Play.
Another one he started.
Which I loved. I don't put it anywhere near the level of Fright Night, but it's still a great classic 80s horror.
I mean, it's an iconic character.
Yeah.
For sure. Anything else from modern day Fright Night before we move on to the next podcast, which will be the Fright Night remake?
Well, all I could say is I don't know how anyone would have listened this long if they haven't seen Fright Night. But if you haven't seen Fright Night, you got to fix that.
And if you haven't seen the remake, watch the remake before we release the remake podcast, because it's worth watching.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Hey, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, and for John Levengood, you'll be hearing from us shortly with the second part of this podcast, Fright Night Part 2, the remake. Wait, All right. This is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week. Bye.